With 2 copies of Double Typhoon Advanced Deck Set and a couple of other cards from the card pool, you got yourself the full power MegaGargomon deck. Alright, starting with Digi-Egg cards as usual, 4 copies of the all-new Gummymon. Draw power is just great. We play Tamers, and speaking of Tamers, we actually do play Mimi in this deck as well, which is probably one of the reasons I would recommend you guys to run a 5th egg, but we'll talk about that more just in a bit when we get into the tech choices. Now, let's get into our rookies. Starting off with the main character of this deck, we certainly have the all-new 4 copies of Terriermon. Really great main once per turn effect, which lets you play a green Tamer or a Lotmon by reducing the cost by 2. And that gives you a lot of efficiency when it comes to your plays. And then it's inheritable of all turns as long as your Digimon suspended, it gains extra 1000 DP. You guys are gonna see a lot of this inheritable in particular when it comes to all these cards that we're playing. But yeah, definitely your main go-to 4 of. Next, for other Terriermons, I've been running 3 copies of the EX4 Terriermon, which is mainly a on-play searcher. It's fantastic when you're able to hit 2 targets with this card, so you can grab a 2-color green Digimon card as well as a Tamer with Henry Wong in its name. Otherwise, it has the inheritable Alliance. When you Alliance, you get to Digivolve into a 2-color green Digimon card by reducing the 2 costs as well, which definitely comes up for sure in this deck because we sometimes go for Alliance combos. Then we got 2 copies of the good old Terriermon. That's the memory blocker, floodgate to stop opponents from gaining memory other than Tamer effects. Generally just a really good card to have, especially because it's also Terriermon in its name. Rounding up for all of our rookies, we got 3 copies of the Lotmon. It has that main effect very similar to Terriermon, but instead of playing stuff, you get to give any of your Digimon Alliance for the turn. And it has the same inheritable as usual, gaining extra 1000 DP when it's suspended for all turns. That's it for level 3s. Let's talk about our level 4s. Of course, we want to run 4 copies of the brand new Rapidmon here. Usually, you're going to be digivolving it for 3 costs on top of Terriermon with its alternative text. It has blocker and armor purge, and all turns once per turn. When this guy's suspended, you can minus DP to your opponent's Digimon by 4000 and their security Digimon, ensuring that you can use a lot of great defensive and offensive applications when you're going for this card. When you attack, when you block, really just great card, and I love it so much. And all turns inheritable, extra 1000 DP as long as you're suspended. We're also bringing back the good old trusty Rapidmon from BT8. You guys can run between 3 to 4 copies of this. I find myself 3 copies is kind of sufficient with it right now, just because I have a slot for another card, but also digivolving for 3 on top of Terriermon specifically, which is why we run a lot of Terriermons in this deck anyways. It has the armor purge, and it has that when digivolving, you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and up to 3 of their Digimon gets minus 5000 DP for every Tamer that you have, which is going to be really good for Y-board removal, Y-board clearing, and a really good powerful card. But no inheritable, that's totally okay. But speaking of Rapidmon in particular, did you guys know we're going to be getting Rapidmon X in BT16, and this is going to make the deck even stronger, and I'm super excited for that. If you guys are Rapidmon fans and can't wait for that too, definitely subscribe, turn on the notification bell to stay tuned as always, and join the AVAULT Club for early deck lists because I just can't wait for BT16 to come along. And for the other level 4, I'm running 2 copies of Gargomon here. Just a really cool unique effect when this Digimon becomes suspended, you get to get something jamming. Essentially, you can give it to itself to make early checks and early attacks, which is great. Or when you do Alliance combos in particular, you can give your Alliance other Digimon jamming too. And like you guys can see, inheritable, extra 1000 DP all turns when you're suspended, which is still really good. Then for the last level 4 I'm running Arbomon. If you guys want to run more Rapidmons instead, you can definitely run more of that, but it's just kind of like a hybrid for game, just because I did mention we're playing quite a number of Tamers. Sometimes we don't get to suspend all of them, and so then we can actually go for hybrid for game, giving it an extra attack to finish games, which is always nice. We talked about a lot of Rapidmons, but we still have a lot more Rapidmons to go through. We're actually running 4 copies of the brand new Rapidmon as well. Very powerful level 5 of the deck. Mainly, again, you get to Digivolve for 3 on top of a Gargomon or Rapidmon in name, so you can stack Rapidmon on top of Rapidmon, which is kind of interesting and cool. It has both on-play and when Digivolving effects. You de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. Then, if you have a green Tamer in play, you get a full-on turn protection until the end of the opponent's turn to prevent it from being deleted by effects or returning to hand or deck. And having that 1 turn full-on protection is absolutely crazy. And then the inheritable is one of my favorite inheritables because all turns once per turn, when you delete an opponent's Digimon by battle, you get to trash your opponent's security stack as well. So yeah, this is your main level 5 to go to. One of these really good new green cards for sure to be adding into the deck and into the card pool. That's it for our level 5s, because now we're just gonna jump into our level 6s. And you guys might be a little bit wary about the ratios, but that's totally okay. The whole reason of this deck is because you play MegaGargomon Ace. Now, mainly you Digivolve for 4 on top of level 5 that's black or green. Otherwise, you Digivolve for Rapidmon and it's named for 5 cost, meaning you can actually jump from your level 4 straight into this level 6 by skipping the level 5, which means we don't have to play as many of those level 5s. The whole idea is to get into Rapidmon as soon as possible, pressure your opponents, and then you can MegaGargomon Ace. And especially during the opponent's turn, when they attack and disrespect it, you can show them the power of Blast Digivolve to go into your MegaGargomon Ace on top of your Rapidmon for free. Not only that, it has blocker, reboot, and it unsuspends itself when digivolving and at the end of attack. But that's just not all. This card does even more things, because when digivolving, you suspend 2 of your opponent's Digimon Tamers, and 2 of their Digimon Tamers can unsuspend and can digivolve until the end of the turn. Really, really powerful card, very loaded, and one of my new favorite cards, and I'm super glad that they buffed up MegaGargomon to this point where it's a very, very strong and playable card now. Viable for sure, 100%. One of the best ace cards out there. And to round off for all of the Digimon, we're running 2 Quartzmon as our level 7, just a very generic, strong, powerful level 7 green to be running, just to suspend down everything, slow down the game, and lock down the opponent, trash security, and yeah, basically turn, you know, unfavorable situations into like possible winning ones as well, because of how strong the effect really is. Then now let's talk about our Tamers. We got 3 copies of Willis right here on play, being able to hatch an egg immediately, but we mainly play it so that we can reduce our Digivolution cost, so that we can turbo up into our stack way more efficiently. And yeah, definitely a really great card, especially when you pair it up with the Terriermon combo, so you can play it for 1 cost, is absolute value. Then got 2 copies of the newer Henry Wong here. It is your main bio merge target, so that you can, you know, go into a MegaGargomon all the way from a Terriermon just by putting Gargomon and Rapidmon from your trash underneath it in any order, and you also gain Rush afterwards so that you can attack, which is really, really neat. Then it also mainly has a starter main phase. As long as your opponents control a Digimon, you gain a memory. Definitely one of those cards that give you a lot of value when you play it earlier as well. To round up for the Tamers, got 2 copies of Mimi, just again, a very good generic green Tamer to be mainly running. Not only is it just your memory Tamer, it can just help you turbo hatch as well. There's a lot of hatching and turbo hatching involved in this deck, which is why I would recommend the 5th egg, which we'll again talk about in a bit. But yeah, being able to do that, just a really, really good Tamer too. That's it for Tamers. Now let's talk about options. The first one to talk about is certainly Double Typhoon, which is named after this particular set. You guys can play up to 4 copies if you want, because it's just a really good searching card for you, grabbing yourself any green Digimon, any green Tamer as well. And in delay lane, you play Terriermon or Lotmon straight from your hand for free, so that you can go for bigger combos, establish a wide board, and do a lot of things with their main effects as well, so that you're getting a ton of value. Security effect suspends 2 of your opponent's Digimon, and you place it in the battle area too. So it is a really good defensive bomb as well at the same time to, you know, surprise your opponents when it comes out. Then for the searching cards, I'm just going for 3 copies of Agility Training and 2 copies of Green Memory Boost. You guys can juggle between these ratios when it comes to Double Typhoon alongside as well to see what kind of ratios you prefer. But yeah, just really generic good staple cards to find more pieces, digivolve efficiently, and climb up very, very quickly. Got 2 copies of Giant Missile, which is my main removal tool. We'll talk about more other removal options that you can be playing this deck as well in the tech choices. But Giant Missile is MegaGargomon's signature move, being able to suspend your opponent's Digimon, bottom deck their suspended Digimon, and also prevent one of their suspended Digimon from unsuspending for 1 whole turn. Really great. Definitely comes in clutch for sure. Got 1 copy of HPD. This card is always just going to be really, really good. One of the best green staples. I love it, especially when we go into a crazy combo alongside with MegaGargomon, even just by 1-dimensional stack. But we'll show you guys more in the combo section too. Alright, tech choices and other cards that you guys can also consider playing, and I've also considered when I was building this deck. I did talk about having a 5th egg a lot, so these are some of my personal choices at the moment. Nyaramon with the very similar effect with your entire stack, gaining extra 1000 DP definitely comes up. Otherwise, Gummymon, when you suspend your opponent's Digimon, get to draw 1 as well. Really, really good too, giving you a bit more draw power. So choose whichever egg you guys prefer. The other Terriermon you can also play is the EX2 one. When you play a green Tamer, you get to gain a memory, so it's kind of efficient when it comes to that. And then it has that other effect where it gives you extra 2000 DP buff during your turn when you suspend your opponent's Digimon. Can sometimes come up for sure, because you want to take down some big bodies if you need to. Then you can also play Palmomon, depending on the meta, stopping opponents from, playing stuff from Vex. It might counter you yourself a little bit, but that's why you would try to set up your board, and then you would play this card afterwards as the last card to stop them from playing as much. So depending on the meta, you might add it in, but you definitely want to maximize more Terriermon names generally anyways, this deck. As for other Rapidmon, you can also bring back the good old EX2 one. It gives you the ability to suspend your opponent's Digimon if you have a Tamer, and then Inheritable is just one of my favorites because when you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, you gain security +1 for the turn, so you don't really have to rely on Alliance because Alliance is only per attack. But if you gain security +1, you can go for some really explosive chunk damage and combos alongside with MegaGargomon, especially because it can suspend itself too. The other really cool stuff you guys can be also running is actually the black version of MegaGargomon. Black Gargomon, Black Rapidmon, and the whole package from EX4, they actually come in real handy to sort of like, give your deck a little bit more alliance capabilities, a whole package to do more things, and Black MegaGargomon itself is just a really beefy, strong body that's difficult to deal with in general, which can give you a lot of control aspects, even more so than just MegaGargomon Ace. So by synergizing both of them together, really cool stuff that you guys can splash in and juggle around with the ratios, depending on what kind of build you prefer there too. Other cards that you can also include, like some generic green ace cards right here. Mega Kabu Terriermon for extra DP buffs, Lilymon Ace for suspension, and Rust Tyrannomon for a alternative level 6 to surprise your opponents. These are one of the favorite cards I like to include just because there's a lot of variety and all of these are really good choices to surprise against your opponents, and they can never see it coming when you actually blast Digivolve into things that are outside of the deck and outside of the archetype, which they don't expect. So yeah, that's one of the things I really enjoy about having access to ace cards. Then as another green tamer option, other than just playing Mimi, you can actually certainly play Henry from EX2 as your memory tamer instead too, just because with a secondary effect can help you suspend more things if your opponent has a wider board, which can be very helpful and useful. But I generally just like Mimi because of being able to turbo and hatch and push things out is worked out for me greater, but you guys can definitely add Henry in if you want more consistency and name usage when it comes to some of your Terriermon searching, for example. Then last but not least, another removal option other than Giant Missile, Heaven's Judgment is just really great. You have a lot of multi-color green cards now in your deck, and you're being able to minus 6,000 DP and do it up to 2 more times. You can get rid of something that with 18k with it. It's just really good, and you can even spread it across, and just a really good general security bomb too, which I might consider adding it instead of Giant Missile, depending on what kind of removal you personally prefer. Alright, combos and how to play the MegaGargomon deck. There's definitely a lot to talk about and cover, but let's talk about the opening hand that you want to see. Ideally, of course, the line of play is to see as many rookies as you can, Terriermon being your main one, especially a new one, and of course your searching options. That's really all you need to start off with, and having Tamers is always going to be really good because alongside with your Terriermon, you can get a lot of value from these Tamers, especially in the early stages of the game and throughout the entire rest of the game. So let's quickly show you guys. Of course, you want to hatch. Whether you're going first or second, if you can Digivolve into this Terriermon, it will always be more ideal just because the next time when you push it up, you're able to utilize its main effect to help you play a Lotmon for 1 cost, or otherwise, you get to play any of these Tamers. Henry and Willis is going to be for 1 cost, and Mimi, which is your memory setter, is going to be only for 2 costs, and that's really ultra value. Of course, you always want to, stack up these searching if you can, double Typhoon, green memory boost, whenever you have the opportunities to find pieces, so then you can see your line of play. But it's very simple, because all the cards that you're going to be looking for are going to be either of your Rapidmons or your Gargomons to go for early chip damage as much as you can, and early control. The more Tamers when you establish and the wider your board your opponent goes, then it's the perfect time to go into the BT8 Rapidmon, spin down things, minus 5,000 DP to clear board, and especially if the wider it is, up to 3 things get deleted. But this newer one is really my personal favorite at this moment, getting into this for 3 costs. If you have Willis, you can reduce it by 1. If you have any agility trainings and green memory boost, you might want to utilize it in early stages to get into this, just for a little bit more memory efficiency, just so that you can actually swing aggressively with it. And because it's suspended, you get to minus 4k to something, potentially deleting something that's kind of lower, or swinging into it if it's suspended, and swinging to security. Effectively, this card alone is like 11k. Because you're minusing 4k to the opponent's security, then that's really good. But also, you're gaining extra 1000 DP while it's suspended, drawing 1 for Gummimon. That's why you want to set up Tamers as early as possible, especially with utilizing Terriermon. This Rapidmon card and this Rapidmon build, rushing it down is pretty rapid at taking your opponent's security. And once you take it out, if it ever gets threatened and deleted, you simply armor purge, and you actually, get to stick around, and if they don't get rid of the Terriermon, then The next turn, you get to use it all over again with his main first to place a Tamer or something like that, and play a Lotmon, and then go again into Rapidmon. Lotmon gets to give it into Alliance, and then you get to basically swing, and Alliance even for 2 checks for 12k, essentially kind of almost, is really, really great. If it's not Rapidmon, Gargomon is equally just as good. You can do the same thing, giving Alliance, and Gargomon will swing for 2 checks with jamming too. So a lot of early game attacking and damage dealing with this particular, which I really like the aggression of it. Of course, the ideal is to then sit into your Rapidmon and just wait for your opponent to respond. That will be your other game plan. Once it's their turn, they're gonna have to really think about carefully, because they're gonna have to respect MegaGargomon Ace. And like I mentioned before, you can just jump straight from Rapidmon level 4 into the level 6 MegaGargomon. If your opponent attacks into you and doesn't respect it, you go straight into it, blast Digivolve, suspend 2 of their things. 2 of their things can't Digivolve, unsuspend it if it was suspended to begin with. But one really important note to be tricky about it. Keep in mind, when Digivolving and end of attacking, you may unsuspend this. Sometimes you don't want to unsuspend this particular guy. The reason is because you might want to keep it suspended so it gets the DP buff. Say if your opponent's running into you with 12k DP. If they're running into 12k DP and you keep it suspended, they're running into the 14k body and they crash alone. But if you unsuspend it to begin with, then it reverts back to 12k and you can potentially just, get deleted, and then you have Ace Overflow, then you're not really getting your value off of that. So really, really making sure on how you choose and pick your battles off with MegaGargomon. If they don't attack you and they respect you, just keep chipping them down until they do so. And eventually you're gonna chunk them down to low enough security that you can go into MegaGargomon Ace by paying for the full amount, making sure it's still your turn, and make two attacks to finish the game off just like that too, which is really, really cool. The other nice thing is that we have the level 5 Rapidmon. If your opponent has removal and stuff that can deal with it, make sure you have a Tamer set up prior to that, because then you can Digivolve Rapidmon on top of Rapidmon, effectively with its black box alternative Digivolution cost, into Gargomon or Rapidmon for 3 costs. And then this, you can de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. By de-Digivolving it, you also get protection, because if you have a Tamer, from any deletion effects, any returning to hand or deck effects essentially, which covers a lot of wide variety, which is absolutely fantastic. And then the same idea comes back once again. If they attack into you, you are blast Digivolve. If not, you can do the proactive play, go into MegaGargomon yourself, suspend down your opponent's Digimon, swing over it with MegaGargomon, and then you get to trash one of the security, and then you get to unsuspend and make another attack once again, which is always absolutely fantastic. Another simple line of play that I really want to mention how powerful HPD really is that if this was your only body and board to begin with anyways, you can still play HPD, suspend down your own Rapidmon, and then Digivolve into MegaGargomon effectively for free, and use this when Digivolving effect to unsuspend itself right away, and then you can at least still make one attack with it, which is still really, really strong. And the other combo, of course, is not only that this Henry Wong gives you a memory at the start of every turn, as long as your opponent has a Digimon, you can always have a Terriermon if you have it in a raising. And let's just say in the course of the game, you lose your stack. You potentially would have stacked up a Rapidmon and a Gargomon there in a situation. Once you push it up, alongside with Mimi and Henry Wong, and as long as your opponent has a Digimon on the board, you should be starting your turn with 4 memory, and 4 memory is going to be perfect to help you go into this combo. If not, you might want to use Green Memory Boost to help you reduce Digivolution cost, or if you have Willis as well, that can do the same thing, which can be a little bit more efficient. You want to make sure you have 3 memory or 4 memory to work with when you go for this, because when you do the bio merge, simply you put Henry Wong, put a Gargomon, and any of these 2 Rapidmons. As a matter of fact, it can be any of these 3 Rapidmons from your trash. By tucking it all underneath, ideally I like this one the most, but this one's the secondary, so you get extra 1000 DP. If not, the third one would be this one, but doesn't provide any hurtables, whichever resources you have during the time. But let's just say we put all of this, and then you can Digivolve straight into MegaGargomon for 4 costs, and it gains brush. So another combo is, let's just say if you didn't have the Terriermon pushed up to begin with from your raising, you can always use double Typhoon to play out the Terriermon and do the exact same thing. And now it has brush. You can now do the whole combo all over again, suspend, attack, and go for a game if you really need to as well. And yeah, that's why I really, really love playing this deck. And another cool thing is you can turbo into quartz very quickly and effectively with various methods, simply because you always skip the level 5 if you need to go into quartz, seal the deal, stop the game, turn it into your favorite and finish it off as well if you really need to. If you like the playmat that we use in today's video, then be sure to grab your very own copy on it on theevaultstore.com right now. If you want to see this particular deck in action and some gameplay full power guides, definitely watch this video right here, right now too. As always, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for Rapidmon X coming in BT16, so subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and you guys have a great day, great night. Wherever you are, see you in the next video, and this is Vault, signing